Greetings everyone, my name is Errol Coder, and this is Planetary Television.
This episode of 365 Days of Astronomy is sponsored by Angela Johnson Mazzaros on the 16th anniversary of our marriage. Even though I can't remember where I put my keys when I came into the house, I can still remember the first time I ever saw you. You made my heart sing then, and still do now. I love you, Imre.
You are about to listen to the 365 Days of Astronomy podcast.
What do they talk about?
Astronomy, stuff that's far away.
How far?
How far? You are about to listen to the 365 Days of Astronomy podcast.
What do they talk about?
Astronomy, stuff that's far away.
How far?
How far? Well,
this stuff is far. It's really far. This stuff is far, far, far away. We're talking far. Like uber far. You can't get there by car today. It's super duper crazy far, but not just pulsars, quasars, and stars. We mean it's far. Far, far, far. If there's some doubt, listen to a shout. This stuff is far.
The IYA 365 Days of Astronomy podcast starts now.
Hello and welcome to the 365 Days of Astronomy. My name is Zachary Kessin and I'm a self-professed science nerd. And I grew up as a science nerd. When I was a child, my parents took me to the Boston Museum of Science pretty much every weekend. We also had microscopes around the house and other science stuff. I'm also now a parent with two small children. Because I'd like my sons to become science nerds too, I thought I'd call an expert on the subject and share some thoughts. That expert is my father, Richard Kessin.
Hi there, Zach. This is Rich Kessin. I'm a professor at Columbia University in the city of New York, as we call ourselves. And a lot of us professional scientists are very worried that our kids are not getting a proper science education. So I and a lot of my other colleagues have been worried about how we could improve that. And so we've been going around to schools and seeing what works and some of the problems, and maybe how sometimes it's best done in the home. So what do you say, Zach? What should we talk about?
Well, I think we should first talk about what resources are available easily and cheaply to parents and their kids. One thing that I've noticed is in astronomy, the really bad telescopes that used to be out there and kids would often get for holiday presents have been replaced, or at least added to, by some very good telescopes. You can now get a reasonably good telescope for under $100. In fact, if you go to the Galileo Scope project, you can get a pretty good telescope for about $30. Warning, you do need a good tripod. Now, astronomy is not your science, is it? And so what's on your end of things?
Well, I have a son who's interested in the very large, but I am interested in the very small. But I think it's all the same, cut out from the same cloth. And it all has to do with lenses, and it all has to do with letting kids, let's say second, third graders, see things that they didn't imagine existed. And you don't need to worry about their interest or their enthusiasm. You just need to give them something and let them go. So, as
Dr. Neil Tyson from the Hayden Planetarium in New York City commented once, we spend the first 3 years of our children's lives teaching them to walk and talk, and then the next 15 telling them to shut up and sit down, which seems a little counterproductive. It seems...
Go ahead, Zach.
It seems that, letting them look at things and poke at things, as long as they don't hurt themselves while doing it, is a good option. I mean, with a telescope or a microscope, unless you point it at the sun, never do that, please. There are very few ways you can really hurt yourself. So what have you been doing with some of the kids up in Connecticut where you spend some of your time?
Well, recently, I went and visited a second grade class in a school in a little town in Connecticut, and I thought it would be fun to just bring them little microscopes. Now, you don't need microscopes that are great powerful things that cost a fortune. So what we did, my wife Gayleen and I, is we bought 20 little pocket microscopes, and you can find these on the web. Just type in pocket microscope.
We'll put a link into the show notes for that.
You can find them anywhere, and there are little things about the size of a little box. And you turn them on, and the wonderful things about these things is they have pretty good optics, and they're only magnified 30 times. But there's plenty of stuff out there that you can see that with a magnification of 30 times. And they have a built-in light. And when it comes to microscopy, light is everything. If you don't have a built-in light, then you're pretty much lost. So I took these microscopes into the school, and we just put the names of each student on the microscope, and we handed them out, and we told them to go look for stuff. And the cool thing was, they owned those little microscopes, and they took them home, and the brothers and the sisters and the parents used them. But we made a few suggestions about what they should see. And you get this nice, bright image. And one of the cool things to look at, of course, is bugs and soil and anything you want. But one of the things that was particularly interesting was cloth. People don't understand how kids and even adults don't understand how cloth is made and how beautiful it is when it's magnified 30 times under a bright light. So we had them running around, looking at different kinds of cloth and how they're made, silk, synthetics, all sorts of stuff like that, and they thought that was very cool. It was deep winter, so we couldn't send them out to do nature, but in the spring they took the microscopes out and they looked at stuff from the streams, and they had a great time with it. But one of the things that we did that was really exciting was actually Zachary's suggestion, was because I work at a major research laboratory, I have access to very good microscopes that have cameras on them. So I got a scarf from the second grade teacher and a tie, very colorful tie from the principal, and I took pictures of those through the microscopes, and then we printed them out on paper, and we hung them up in the classroom, and we told the students to find those objects. And the teacher wore the scarf that day, and the students had the devil's own time finding it until all of a sudden they realized that it was what they were looking for was around their teacher's neck, and they thought that was great. And the next day they tackled the principal's tie, but by that time they sort of got the idea, so that didn't take them so long. But it was all very exciting, and this is the sort of thing that one can do at home.
Can you actually see cells at 30 power?
Not really, unless they're very big cells. Now, you can get a microscope. I know Celestron makes one, a digital microscope that's let's say $100, and you can record directly into your computer. I think that's the cheapest you're going to get from that. Now, the optics on some of those things are probably not great, and at that level, it makes a difference. But you can almost see cells at 30 power, but there's lots out there in forms of bugs and cloth and goodness knows what that students can see, and you don't have to tell them. You don't have to make it very didactic. You just let them loose and bring stuff in.
You are listening to the IYA 365 Days of Astronomy podcast. Cool.
The 365 Days of Astronomy podcast is produced by Astrosphere New Media Association. Audio post-production by Preston Gibson. Bandwidth donated by Libsyn.com and Wizard Media. Web design by Clockwork Active Media Systems. You may reproduce and distribute this audio for non-commercial purposes. Please consider supporting the podcast with a few dollars or euros. Visit us on the web at 365daysofastronomy.org or email us at info@365daysofastronomy.org. Until tomorrow, goodbye.